Because I think sometimes the problems that exist in the West are different than the problems that exist in Africa. We sometimes joke that in the West we worry about scratching fleas, and in Africa we worry about fighting lions. So the scale of our problems are very different. And so I think that when we try and take existing copy and paste technology and force it into our context, it often doesn't fit very well. We find there are issues with reliability, we find that there are issues with even the technology functioning for its intended purpose. And so we're really trying to inspire a generation of technologists that look at our own problems and look at the tools that are around us, the technologies that are around us, and reassemble those into something that fits very well with our reality, our physical reality. We live in a harsh world. Africa is very difficult from an environmental standpoint. It's very difficult from an infrastructure standpoint. And so looking at technologies that kind of take all of that into account and yet deliver on the value that's expected by the end consumer. Well, I think the driving force is that, just like the rest of the world, Africa wants to be a global player. And when we look at something like M-Pesa, I think it's a brilliant example of taking a technology that had existed in another form, but bringing it into the African context, and suddenly it becomes this amazing mobile money system the rest of the world looks at as an example of how to do mobile money. And I think going forward, there are a number of other technology sectors where we can equally be an example for how to innovate, how to take maybe some existing pieces that are already there, but reapply them into our own world. And in the end, I think as Africans, we want to have access to the same capabilities, the same technologies, the same efficiencies that the rest of the world enjoys, even though we happen to live in Africa. I think the future of ICT innovation is, even as it was talked about earlier today, we're going to see more ubiquity in the availability of computing. We're going to see computing in small devices, the Internet of Things. In Kenya, we talk a lot about physical world computing. So when we look at our availability of natural resources, when we look at even monitoring remote infrastructure, we need to put computers into more things so that we can do a better job of monitoring them, tracking them, maintaining them, making sure we continue to have access to those capacities and capabilities. And so I think that when we look at our young generation that are coming up, it's going to be thinking about how do we develop tools and technologies that we can embed in everyday life that allow us to do a better job at being human. Quite overwhelming. To be a small startup from Nairobi, Kenya, in the midst of such towering giants of telecommunication is a bit intimidating, but it's a great honor and pleasure to be here.